Dr. Anthony Fauci is the highest paid government official in the United States. He makes more money than the president. Fauci heads the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. In his capacity, Fauci is able to throw a lot of your money around, tens of billions of dollars every single year. One of the places he sends your money is to China. The only people holding Fauci accountable are Republicans at this point. The other side just kisses his butt. And nobody holds him accountable better than Senator Rand Paul. The two doctors have had a couple battles over COVID-19. And today, Fauci headed back to the Senate for more questions. And we knew Senator Paul would not miss it for the world. We know at this point all signs point to the Wuhan lab leak conspiracy theory actually being true, in fact. And we know the United States and Fauci's Institute funded that lab through a series of subgrants, as Fauci calls them. Today we saw Dr. Fauci, the bureaucrat, get angry and defensive while being grilled. We're going to break it down tonight. Take a listen.
Dr. Fauci, knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement. This paper that you are referring to was judged by qualified staff up and down the chain as not being gain of function. Let me finish.
Gain of function research and who funds it is the key question here. We need accountability, obviously, for the virus that wiped out 4 million people across the world and destroyed all of the world's economies. Gain of function research improves the ability of a pathogen to cause disease. In other words, when you take a virus that would typically only pass between animals and manipulate it so it can also infect you and I. It's really risky stuff. Who knows? You could just incidentally create a pandemic that would have never happened. Which is why back in 2014, the United States government paused the release of federal funding for gain of function studies. Well, at least the government said that it did. And yet it's very clear now that money still made its way from your wallet through layers and layers of grants and subgrants to the Wuhan lab, which was doing this kind of research. But don't worry. The Chinese scientists promise our money is not being used to perform this extremely risky research which they're doing. And if there's one thing we know, it's that we can always implicitly trust the Chinese government. They would never lie. It would be illegal for Fauci to sign off on funding for gain-of-function research, which is why this got so heated. You may wonder why we pay the Chinese to research viruses at all, even if it's not gain-of-function. That's another great question for another day. As for this topic, Fauci tried as hard as he could to confuse a very, very simple subject today. And here's some more from the hearing.
They took animal viruses that only occur in animals and they increased their transmissibility to humans. How you can say that is not gain of function?
It is not.
It's a dance, and you're dancing around this because you're trying to obscure responsibility for 4 million people dying around the world from a pandemic.
That is a very big statement from Senator Paul. It certainly got Dr. Fauci's attention, and it was soon after that that Fauci got mad.
You take an animal virus and you increase its transmissibility to humans,
right.
You're saying that's not gain of function?
Yeah, that is correct. And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly. And I want to say that officially. You do not know what you are talking about.
So, does Rand Paul really not know what he's talking about, or did he just hit the nail right on the head? Unlike most political blowhards, Rand Paul is actually a doctor. He's actually intelligent. And not in the Jill Biden sense of being a doctor. Senator Paul is an ophthalmologist. Now, to be fair, we have no idea if COVID-19 was created using gain-of-function research. We don't know that, and that is fair. Also, if American dollars were in fact used to create COVID-19, there's not currently proof that Fauci was aware. And we'd like to think that Fauci was just naive and really dumb with the way he was throwing money around and didn't realize that obviously Chinese scientists are going to lie just the way the Chinese do all the time. What we do know is that in 2012, Fauci defended the importance of gain-of-function research and stated that he believed the risky work would even be worth a pandemic. Think about that. We also know Fauci vigorously pushed the idea that COVID-19 was a naturally occurring virus. Fauci called for Wuhan to shut down its wet markets early in the pandemic, even though he knew that there was a lab in Wuhan for studying viruses. And just like Jon Stewart said a couple weeks ago, duh, obviously that's where this thing came from. At the end of the day, Fauci is a bureaucrat in charge of tens of billions of dollars of your money in government funding and grants. He's got a lot on the line. Nobody can deny there are obvious reasons why Fauci would be inclined to cover up a massive mistake if it happened. And with that, we're going to move on to the subject of masks, a subject that the doctor lost a lot of credibility with.
People should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. Everybody should be wearing a mask when they're outside and should be trying to distance. If you have a physical covering with one layer, you put another layer on, it just makes common sense that it likely would be more effective. There's no data that indicates that that is going to make a difference.
So recently uncovered emails reveal that Fauci is truly aware that most mask wearing, and by most I mean 99.9% of it in this country, is simply theater. You all know the kinds of crappy masks we've been wearing for the last year. Fauci has known this entire time that all of this was pointless. Of course, that's not what he promotes with his guidance. And now, just when you thought this was all over and you started remembering what life was like before this hell began, masks have re-entered the conversation in a very big way. Our two biggest liberal cities, both liberal, are going different directions on masks. Los Angeles County deciding to reimpose their mandate regardless of vaccine status, one of the dumbest moves we've seen this week, prompting even liberal outlets to write headlines like this from the LA Times. Vaccines are incredibly effective against Delta variant, so why do we need to wear masks indoors? Makes no sense. The LA County Sheriff, who we spoke to on this show, common sense Democrat, is refusing to enforce that mandate, and good for him. In New York City, Mayor Bill de Blasio says he's not going to implement a mask mandate, citing a 50% vaccination rate in his city.
That's the ballgame. That's where we make the impact. The thing that actually stops COVID. Not the thing that, masks have value, unquestionably. But masks are not going at the root of the problem. Vaccination is.
Holy hell, I just agreed with Bill de Blasio. Today, the White House was asked if the federal government would go back to a federal mask mandate. Can you imagine? Here's the response.
I would remind you all that almost 70% of adults are still vaccinated in this country. We are not in the place we were 2 months, 3 months, 6 months ago.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.